Welcome to the Marketing Innovators Podcast. Today we have a very exciting guest, Shadi Yazdan, who is a four-time founder, passionate about launching and growing new ventures across an area of industries and being part of creating and bringing to market new innovative technology. She has an outstanding record of utilizing management expertise, business acumen, and strategic partnership skills to build deep relationships and executing winning marketing strategies to deliver exceptional results. In her free time, she enjoys reading, learning something new, and giving back to her community through volunteering. She also values her network and always works on developing a deep and meaningful relationship with people. Among friends and acquaintances, she is known as a people connector. Shadi, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit more about your personal backstory. How did you actually end up here?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So I actually have a very unconventional background, one that also I have to say now I am very proud of, but as I was going through figuring out where I belong in this world, it wasn't easy. So I say that I'm proud because oftentimes we really try to fit people in a particular box and force them to specialize in one particular area. And throughout my life, I've always fought against this. It just didn't feel natural to me. And I never really fit into that box. And I've worked really hard to create what really aligns with who I am as a human being and what my values are and what works best for me. So my adventure in the startup world, if you may call it, started back in 2000 while I was completing my undergrad double degree and looking for a way to pay for my tuition because I'm a child of, immigrant parents and they couldn't afford to pay for school. I knew I had to go to university and I had to find a way to pay for it myself. So I successfully launched, grew, and sold a tutoring business that I ran for about 4 years within my undergrad program before leaving for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to work and live in Japan. And after I came back from Japan, I spent about 11 years or so working for the government as an educator, facilitator, project, and program manager. But I have to say throughout it all, I wasn't happy with my role because it didn't challenge me. It didn't allow me to learn as quickly as I wanted to and to wear different hats. But I had no idea what else I could potentially do. And I used to throughout run these side businesses. And those were the age where that was a time when technology was becoming cool. So I was actually selling products online. This was, before Amazon became who it is today. And this was the early days of online product selling. And this was, I did all of this because it was a whole new environment. Nobody knew anything about it. And it fed my desire of learning and growing. And it challenged me. And I loved doing it. And I loved being the one in charge. I loved planning, organizing, and then also interacting with the end user, so the clientele. And finally, I have to say, throughout my whole career while I was working within the government sector, there was this internal voice that kept telling me there's something more out there, but I just didn't know what it was. And that voice got louder and louder and louder to the point where I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I decided I had to do something. And the only thing that I knew was get more education, because that's usually what you're told if you're looking to transition to another career, or even if you're looking to find out what aligns with you, you oftentimes go to school and you get another degree. So I decided to do a master's degree outside of the world that I was in, which was that education world. So I decided to apply for an MBA and thinking that the business degree was going to give me much more knowledge that I would need, that I felt like I was missing. And after a lot of research, I learned that a regular MBA would actually force me to specialize in a particular area, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. And this didn't really align with what I was ultimately looking for, and I was so afraid of getting trapped into one particular career and then finding out that it wasn't really what lit me up. So I decided, and I came across another program, which was the Executive MBA program, which would allow me to learn about all the different areas of running a business. It was like a buffet. I got to try a little bit of everything. This was perfect. I would ultimately be able to find what would be the best for me based on what excited me most. But I also really quickly, throughout my research, found that if I was going to do this, it was going to be an expensive program, expensive undertaking, that I would have to do it with a recognized brand of school. And I knew, and I'm based in Canada, and I knew that Canadian schools are not really recognized globally, and I wanted to set myself up globally. So that's when I started looking at American schools and applied and was successfully accepted into MIT Executive MBA program. But unfortunately, I couldn't afford the tuition. It's crazy for us Canadians having to pay, and I don't know how Americans do it. Heartbroken, I had to start working on Plan B. And I'm really glad that I worked on Plan B, because my father sat me down and said, listen, if our family could give everything up and come across the world to this country, then you can figure out how to solve this. Because my father has always said, there are no problems in the world, there are only opportunities. And that has been something that's been a huge driving force for me throughout my whole life. So there was a program that I came across in partnership with a Canadian school where I would actually get an American degree, and the program would give me the criteria I was looking for, which was that face-to-face interaction and travel to the US to study with the American classmates. I wanted to experience that and know what that was like without breaking the bank. And throughout the Executive MBA program, I kept talking to different people to find out what they did and why they did it and how they liked it. I'm really proud graduate of Northwestern's Kellogg Executive MBA program. That program really opened a lot of doors for me and put me in contact with people I would never have had the opportunity of connecting with. And through that program, I had the opportunity to talk to some of the most incredible, smart, highly accomplished individuals. And what I saw was a theme behind every single one of these people. And that is, no one seemed to be content and happy with what they were doing. They oftentimes felt like they were in that line of work because either a career counselor told them to do that because A, they were good in math, or their parents, maybe if dad and mom were doctors, you were required to be a doctor as well, which was really tough for a lot of them. And many even said to me, wow, I never really thought about why I do what I do. So this really got me down a whole new area where I was very committed to finding and discovering that dream job. And I wanted to know what that wanted to be. I wanted a work that gave me flexibility, autonomy, allowed me to make tough decisions, and also allowed me to consistently learn and learn quickly. At the same time, I came across a book called Designing Your Life by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. And this book was a game changer because it gave me the tools that I needed to figure out what that dream job was. And this research for the dream job led me to entrepreneurship. So I built a business with 3 other in my MBA class, which was called EdTech Hive. Great business idea, but not the right team of people. It was a disaster. This is where I quickly learned the importance of choosing the right people to join a business venture as co-founders and not just anybody. And this is something that I also advise a lot of founders to be mindful of, because I look at finding your co-founder like I look at finding your life partner, like your wife or your husband. You really want to go through that dating process. It's quite important. After this EdTech Hive, I tried running a number of other businesses, and I learned very quickly my other crucial lesson, which is that I didn't want to be a solo founder. And I wanted to have co-founders. I wanted to build businesses with others. So soon I co-founded a US-based e-commerce marketplace, Shopterra, which is a marketplace of all natural, eco-friendly personal care, pet care products, which we had developed our own rating system for, to rate the toxicity in chemicals and also the sustainability. We were way ahead of our time when we ran this company, and we ran it for about a year and a half. And very quickly, I took an exit from the business because another opportunity presented itself, and that was one of my other MBA classmates who was on the same study team as I was, approached me and told me about this company that he was building, which was an AI company that was predicting customer behavior with 90% accuracy. And it excited me because it was an area that I didn't know anything about. So it, filled that desire of learning and growing. And I've been with PredictivEye since. So now we are, close to our second year. I've never been really the tech co-founder. I've always been the business side of the business, handling operations, marketing, sales, partnerships, anything the business needs. This is where I thrive and get great joy. And I'm never doing the same thing, which I really love. And today, in addition to running PredictivEye, I'm actually quite active on many other social media platforms like Clubhouse and Fireside, which are all audio-based, where people around the world come together, talk, listen, and learn from each other in real time. And I share my experiences in the startup world, give marketing tips, talk about the importance of taking care of your wellness as you're building your business. That is a lesson that I've learned the hard way. And I do all this as a way of, supporting others on their entrepreneurial journey. Because when I was going through my journey, I had to learn a lot of tough lessons on my own. And my involvement with Clubhouse and Fireside has given me the opportunity to reach even more founders, whether they're experienced or new, which has led me to start also doing a lot of advisory work with a lot of the startups that are out there. So that's a little quick spiel about my background.
That's quite in depth, actually, but quite insightful because I know that a lot of marketing professionals listening to this podcast, they face these challenges as to what can they do to actually take themselves to the next level. But I'm really interested to, from your journey, learn more about your current role as a chief marketing officer at PredictivEye, because it seems like this is the right time for a solution that PredictivEye offers. Can you maybe shed some light as far as what exactly is the problem that PredictivEye solves?
Yes. So one of the core, so I'll take it back a little and talk about a little bit more in depth what we do and why we do it and who we target. So as I mentioned, we predict customer behavior, so online customer behavior with 90% accuracy. And unlike many AI companies that are out there, we actually don't collect any personal information or use historical data to make prediction. All of our predictions are done in real time, in seconds, on the anonymous online visitor. Why did we decide that this was a problem that we needed to address? Really, it comes down to what we currently see with the online world. There's tons and tons of money, millions and millions of dollars that are spent on Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and you're pretty much shooting in the dark, making a lot of predictions that oftentimes take a long time for you to see the results. What's really popular in the online marketing world is the endless A/B testings and multivariate testings that are currently being done, but we know that it takes about 3 to 4 months to actually see results of those tests. How great would it be for you to be instantly able to tell what resonates best with your customers, what is going to help them complete that online, if we're talking about the online shopping world, what is actually going to lead them to complete that shopping world to lead to increasing your conversion rate and also decrease your shopping cart abandonment. So our ideal customer at PredictivEye are mid-sized e-commerce retailers that have at least 10,000 buying customers, not online visitors, but actual buying customers. And these guys are generating at least $1 million in annual revenue. Why this particular number? Because we have come to the conclusion after running many of the tests that we've done, if you are already if you're already selling to 10,000 buying customers online, you have enough data for us to be able to run our AI models on your platform to be able to give you the solution you need. The reality is AI is still dependent on data. You still need to have a lot of data to be able to make prediction. I'm very suspicious of AI companies that say, oh, you don't need to have a lot of customers. We can run the analytics and give you the results that you need. And oftentimes what they're doing is they're using third-party data. They're not really doing the test within your own environment to give you the solution that you may need. So in terms of my marketing background, where that comes into play is that, again, I'm not your traditional marketer. And by that, I mean the financial strain of building a new business has really forced me to think outside of the box and do things differently. The conventional and the typical way of marketing a brand and product, to be honest with you, is extremely expensive for startups. And it's just not realistic to expect them to be able to spend that money. But unfortunately, what I see is a lot of startups, as soon as they raise their first funding, they put a lot of money into their marketing efforts, when it would have been better had they from the beginning try to think about, what does my end user want? What is their pain point? And how can I serve them there? How can I make sure that I am their Advil, if you want to call? I am that thing that's keeping them up at night. I'm the one that's here to solve that, to be that solution to that problem. So not really having all the funding in the world is actually the great motivator to push you out of your comfort zone and force you to think differently. So I'm not sure if you want me to go into strategies, but I can talk about a couple of the ways that you can do that as well.
So, Shadi, it's interesting, with the overview that you actually mentioned, it seems that companies can utilize PredictivEye to not only increase conversions, but increase customer retention by understanding what their behavior is like and so forth. Do you want to shed some light on that side of things?
Yes. So if we're talking about customers like those in the retail space, e-commerce retail space, what essentially we're able to do is, as soon as that online visitor lands on your website, based on their particular behavior on your site, what they're looking at, what they're clicking on, how much time they're spending on a particular site, on your particular site, again, without collecting any personal information, we can predict what's going to resonate with that particular customer best. So instead of you now offering 20% site-wide discount, you can give incentives based on that particular person's behavior, which leads to a higher conversion rate, because the way you and I would act online would be completely different. Our behavior would be different based on our background, based on where we're coming from, and so forth. The current products that are in the market at the moment are utilizing historical data and need access to your CRM system to be able to make those predictions. And those predictions are only being done after the shopping journey has been completed, not during, not in seconds. So that's essentially how the technology works.
That's really interesting. So, I mean, in terms of trying to not only increase customer loyalty, but you're creating more of like a personalized shopping experience using PredictivEye, which would obviously increase retention and also increase loyalty as well. So, in terms of the restrictions that are being put out right now with Apple and Google and minimizing or giving options to users to minimize the tracking that gets done online, how do you overcome that barrier?
Mm-hmm. Very good question. So we're not tracking anything. We're not. We are not retargeting anyone. The way that our technology works is just like, somebody goes online on a particular website. Let's just name a company. Let's say Zara. You go onto Zara's website and you want to shop. And our AI models are running in the background. And all they are doing is, as soon as you land on Zara's website, it's paying attention to your particular behavior and, providing you with that incentive, or even making micro changes to the layout of the platform to make sure that it is an enhanced experience as you are online. This is the kind of work that's already being done by Amazon, but Amazon has this technology for themselves and they're not commercializing it. And we've taken that idea, made it even more powerful for the everyday e-commerce retailer to be able to compete on a fair ground with the Amazons of the world.
So with the technology that you have, it seems to me that you also have to really educate your target audience as to how it actually works and how it can actually give them a benefit. What kind of marketing has really worked for your brand to get that message across?
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that I was going to discuss that when I went in deep and talked about our biggest challenge. So I'll start with the biggest challenge, and then I'll come back and talk about strategies that startups could essentially utilize to help them in this noisy market, and also help them when they don't have all the budget and the resources in the world. So for us at PredictivEye, we've really developed a technology that doesn't exist yet. And I know Google is really close to developing a very similar type of project. When you are first in the market, you have to spend a lot of time and money educating your end users, as you articulated. When you talk about your technology, people automatically try to think of something they already know, or have something that they've already heard of, and they try to put you in that same bucket. So there's a lot of misunderstanding. This again is where the education comes in. But also at the same time, this is where that first mover advantage is not really what you want. You want to be the second, third, or fourth in the market with this type of technology. For us, one of the biggest challenges has been the lack of resource, whether it's the endless amounts of money that the Googles of the world and Amazons would have that they could put into this whole, process of educating their end user. Right? And then I also say people, like one of the challenges that we faced was a lot of the people that we were getting data scientists to come and work for us, they were often new grads from some of the top schools, and they needed experience. So they would come work for us for a few months, and then Google of the world would poach them. So we've lost a lot of our team to Google. And I always joke around and say, I wish Google would at least give us some money for training their people, because they're taking them, and then those data scientists are now being able to work with Google. So I wanted to also really kind of like dig deep into some of the strategies that I found have been really helpful. So one strategy that continues to work really well for me, and has continuously every business really been something that I discovered by accident, which is to really spend the time and watch what the competitors or anyone in the market that's doing similar type of work is doing in terms of their marketing, in terms of their messaging. See what are they doing to get their message out and how they're doing it, and then try to do it differently from everyone else so you actually stand out. Most people, what they do, everyone is always looking to do the same thing as everyone else is. They're really pushing the boundaries is not comfortable or second nature to many people. And in a noisy world, which is the kind of world we live in, where messages are coming at us a million miles a minute, you have to do something that's going to stand out. And this is where strategies like guerrilla marketing are fantastic and really effective. So this was actually really big for us at PredictivEye when we were building our brand. I noticed many of the AI companies that are out there really speak in a way that everyday people don't understand or feel intimidated. So I really focused on speaking what I call human language. So when attending conferences or events in the sea of data scientists, I have to say I always stood out because I was the one that people resonated most with, because they could actually understand what I was saying. I would take these complicated terminologies and I would break it down to a way that people got it. And my test, I did all of these tests on my nephew, who is about 12 years old. And I thought to myself, if he understands what I'm saying, then everyone else is going to understand what I'm saying. So he always jokes and says that he needs to be a part of our team, and he should be getting paid as part of the team because he's been the one to test a lot of the messaging. So another few additional tips that I wanted to share that has worked really well for us in the past. include really, again, everything that I talk about goes back to the basics that I don't think we pay enough attention to. And that is to pay attention to your repeated customers and your current customers in general and treat them like gold. And they're often your best marketing tool. And they're going to sing your praises if they're happy with you. And they're going to refer even more customers to you. And that referral, guess what? I know, really cuts down on the cost of your marketing. Also, since they already know you and they've done business with you, it's much easier for you to upsell and cross-sell to them as well. As we all know, acquiring new customer is much more expensive than retaining your existing ones. But I got to tell you, most companies out there are still spending way too much money on acquiring new customers, and they tend to ignore or forget the customers they already have. And we don't spend enough time talking to our customers. My goodness, talking is such an art. Talking to them like, pick up the phone or set up a one-on-one Zoom or organize a customer appreciation event. Any way you can actually talk to them, talk to them. Ask them what they like about your product or service. And if they had one wish for improvement, what would it actually be? I don't think we do that. And in this age where everything we want done instantly, nobody really values organic growth. And I'm a huge advocate of organic growth. Stay away from those paid growth gimmicks. Organic growth really is what establishes your brand, helps you build a community of loyal followers, which you can easily convert to become your paid customers, your referrals. And those guys will be with you from day one until the time that you are in business. The other component that I often see people forget or don't give enough love to is the importance of partnership. Partnership is one of the areas that's missing in a lot of startups. When they're working on their marketing strategy, they tend to ignore the importance of partnership. You don't have to do it alone. When you partner with others where possible, even partner with your competitor, the market is big enough, and together you can actually get much further than alone. And coming out of the pandemic, I got to tell you, I really truly predict we are going to see partnerships being formed that we would have never guessed in a million years.
I mean, partnerships can have, great advantages. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit as far as what kind of partnerships do you see that would be useful? Because you also mentioned you can partner with your competitors, and I think it's tough for companies to seek out and share information with competing entities. So how do you see this come together as a partnership?
Yeah, so the best partnership is where you complement one another. So you don't have exactly the same product, but you are complementing one another, right? So I'll give you an example from PredictivEye. So at PredictivEye, we're always on a lookout to partner with marketing agencies. So why marketing agencies? Because they're often the ones that are called when companies are looking to, grow their online conversion rates or even have more visitors come onto their website, and they're spending tons and tons of money on these ads, as I mentioned. So marketing agencies, they're already servicing our target customers. So that would be, as I said, e-commerce organization. As our services become like an additional service that they can offer to their end users. So they don't have to go out there and build their own AI model, which can be time consuming and extremely expensive. Here, they're already offering product X to their customers, and here's PredictivEye that has this AI component that embeds really easily with what they're already doing for their end users. It just makes sense for us to partner and support one another. So as their sales grow, we benefit from that, and they also become one of the only marketing agencies to be able to offer this unique access to an AI technology that oftentimes for a lot of their end users, it may not be possible at all for them to go on their own and get for their business. So that would be one quick example that comes to my mind.
That's really interesting because obviously we work with a lot of e-commerce clients and working on different platforms. We utilize, custom e-commerce shopping carts, and also we use template-based systems like Shopify. So how would, let's say, a marketing agency like us be able to work with PredictivEye to help a client that is looking to create more customer engagement and increase customer retention?
Yes, good question. So we are not a competitor of Shopify or WooCommerce or any other e-commerce platform that may be out there. We actually complement and enhance those particular platforms. So if you are working with a customer and building their Shopify platform, and I would actually say we would most likely the end user that's using Shopify wouldn't be the right client for us because they're not mid-size. Mid-size companies they either have their own platform or now they are on Shopify Plus. So if you're using, you have a client that's using Shopify Plus or WooCommerce or BigCommerce, essentially what we would do is we would just embed one line of code on their e-commerce site, and they start getting all the data and results that they need. Or you would be the one to actually have access to all of that data. And based on what the AI models are predicting, you would advise your end user, your clients, what they should be doing next and where they should be going, which kind of puts you in the forefront, right? Because you're making these predictions with 90% accuracy, and it makes you really those that know what's happening in the market, what the customer is going to want before they even know that they want that. And I always like to say that if Walmarts of the world were utilizing us during the beginning of the pandemic, there would never have been a shortage of toilet paper.
That's so true.
Yep. I wish we had been able to jump on that bandwagon because this would be a $1 billion company by now.
So when through your data, can systems or can websites, can they recommend products, or is it mostly data that they can utilize and get back to the customer? Because obviously, being able to offer certain products to the customer in the right time is critical, and and be able to do that with speed and scale. So, does your technology assist companies, e-commerce websites, to be able to do that?
Yes, and it does it in real time. So the way that product recommendation and prediction is done right now is that it's done after the fact. So once I, as an online shopper, makes a purchase, then the next time I'm recommended, I get an email about, hey, we noticed you bought these red shoes. You may also want whatever else it is, right? However, the way our technology works is instantly, because it's already predicted your particular behavior, will notice that if you bought red shoes, it starts to very quickly change even the products that you are seeing in front of you, because it already knows which of those products are going to resonate with you because you purchased red shoes. It doesn't even have to tell you. It'll just put it in front of you, which means I came in for red shoes, and now I'm leaving with red shoes, this color pants, this top, these socks, or whatever it may be. Because I am, as a customer, looking at this platform, I'm shopping online on your e-commerce site, and I'm thinking to myself, how on earth do you know that that's exactly what I need? I just bought red shoes, and yes, you're right, I should have this and this and this too. This is amazing. This company is reading my mind. And essentially, this is what our technology is doing.
Wow. And it just gets better over time as there's more activity, as users are coming back. The AI algorithm learns their behavior and tends to make suggestions that are more personalized.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you actually, as a company, get access to that data. So now you know exactly who that person is and what their behavior is like and what's going to resonate with them. Now in your offline marketing, when you're doing your email marketing, let's say, when you send them product recommendation, you're not shooting in the dark, and not every single person is getting the same product recommendation. Everyone is getting a product recommendation based on their particular behavior. So imagine the value of that and the information that you have on that end user. And here's the other kicker that I didn't mention earlier on. Our technology, in addition to predicting the customer behavior, it also is in tuned to know what is happening in the world. So the only information that it is collecting, again, this is not personal information, is it knows where you are coming online from. So what location? So for example, I'm based in Toronto, Canada, and our temperature, I always joke and say we don't have fall. We go from summer to winter. So if I go online, all of a sudden, if I'm shopping for shorts, it's going to say you're going to need sweatpants. You're going to need sweaters. You're going to need, because it knows Shadi's coming from Toronto, Canada. The temperature is changing, and this is what she needs to purchase before it's too late. Because it is every year, I've grown up in this country, and every year to me, it's a culture shock. When we go from summer to winter, I'm like, what just happened? And I never learn because there's no transition.
So true, so true. So what are the biggest opportunities in future for PredictivEye?
So for PredictivEye, I like to say that we are excited to continuously grow, but eventually we're also looking to sell and move on to our next venture, which is, one of the reasons why you build. As a builder, as an entrepreneur, you love the building process, and then you sell and you move on and you keep going and going and going. So my parents still say to me, when are you going to get a real job? And I tell them never. So that's the future that I see for us, eventually selling and moving on.
Got it. So Shadi, if you were to go back in time, 5 or 10 years, what advice would you give your younger self?
Well, very good question. So I would say, number one, I would tell myself, remember to always, regardless of what's happening, always prioritize your health. That this, at the end of the day, is your true wealth. And the whole ideology of this hustle culture, this toxic hustle culture that we're all under, is not realistic and not good for us. I would also tell myself, save. You don't need to buy yet another thing. Just save your money, save and invest, build multiple streams of income, and never depend on just one, and build as many side hustles as you possibly can, because you never know what the future holds. And it's so important to have multiple sources of income.
Got it. So based on your experience and the challenges that you have overcome, if there was one big takeaway that you could give to our listeners, what would that be?
So based on my experience, I've always been the type of person that felt like I can do it on my own, that I don't need help from anyone. And it's always tough for me to ask for help. And that's something I'm still working through. But getting a mentor and a coach earlier on, as you're building your business, it can really help. It can help you with your mindset. It can help you with those days where you're struggling and you're thinking, I can't go on anymore. And also remembering that a no is always one step closer to a yes, and to welcome those no's, because it means, you know what, you're closer to a yes. And don't take the no personally. Because I remember in the beginning when I was, building, I would take every no personally and thinking there was something wrong with me. And it's not. It's not personal. It's nothing to do with you. A no, again, step closer to a yes.
So true. So we've had a wonderful conversation here today, and I'm sure the audience has learned a lot. Where can people find out more about you and contact you online?
Yes. So follow me on Clubhouse. I'm there often. I've been trying to cut back, but Clubhouse is where I'm often at. I run a regular networking room on Mondays at 12:05 Eastern, under the Pitch Club. And it's all about, the core focus of the networking room is all about give and ask. Give is one of my core values. And I believe that if we all come from a place of give first, it will become a much better world in which we live in. So the whole purpose of that room is come, give something to the audience. And once you've given, then you can ask something in return. And also I run a room every Tuesday at 5:30 Eastern with two other incredible humans that I've had the pleasure of connecting. One is a pro when it comes to partnership. He's the king of partnership. And the other is the queen of sales. And she's fantastic, where we answer questions about your go-to-market strategy. A lot of businesses, especially those of us in the tech world, tend to spend a lot of time building the tech, perfecting the tech, all about the MVP, but we don't think about how we're actually going to take this and put it in the hand of the end user. And that's where oftentimes businesses fail. And you can also find me on Instagram. I've actually completely revamped my Instagram thanks to Clubhouse. I'm at Shadi Yazdan, where I post my tips and advice related to building a startup, and also once in a while share funny posts, because I believe a smile is a medicine for all of us, and we need to take the time to laugh and smile every day and not take life too seriously. And you can also book a free advisory call with me whenever you need it and you just need somebody to talk to. That can all be done through my Instagram account, or follow me on LinkedIn as well. I now started a new series on LinkedIn. I'm testing it out to see how it resonates, where every Tuesday I share what I call Tip Tuesdays, where I share a tip on wellness and personal development as a founder. And then on Thursdays, I share a lesson that I learned that week about building. So I'm hoping that my messages are going to help someone, that may be going through a tough time, or someone that just needs to feel like they're being heard.
That is awesome. So many reasons to follow you on social here, and it's interesting you mentioned that, because a lot of times, as entrepreneurs, we tend to put ourselves in a hole, and we don't ask for help, as you mentioned earlier. But it's important to build a community or people that you can actually connect with, and and as you mentioned, the importance of having a coach or a mentor that can actually help you get out of those holes and those dips that you get when building a business. And it's really important for mental health. And the hustle culture is really taking over, and it's being promoted as this thing that you have to be in to be successful, but that's not the case. So it's a good perspective that you put here, and we'll definitely include the links to your social channels over in the article below. And Shadi, it was a pleasure to have you on the show here today. So many insightful discussions and so much knowledge about where e-commerce is heading, where AI is heading when it comes to PredictivEye. And thank you for your time.